Squish Games. 156 Korean soul-crushing Halloween Defeat. Yeah, that's it, man. We're right back into it. We had some technical difficulties. We're just going to own up to them because we're doing it live. Brief summary. There was a lot of symbolism. 666 based on the address of 1277 row.
Symbolism tied to the 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐃 district located in central
Itaewon
Seoul.
row 173-7, which is one of the addresses of the location. The other address was Itaewon Dong 119-7, which when you break it down, and even the date of 2/22/10/29, when you break it down, 2 + 2 + 2 + 1 + 2 + 9 = 18 divided by 3, all of them go into 666, which is a symbol of what? Classic
Satan?
Yeah.
It's Satan, right?
It's 3 sixes, but it's interesting because the sixes can also be attuned to a pattern, right? It shows people that there's a pattern in front of them. And if you break it down to it, when you start looking at the symbolism of the horned bar that was right next to it, and
a horned bar, I see that. You know what would be absolutely wild would be the death count we have right now is 156 plus.
a bunch of...
Could be more that are in the hospital right now, potentially going to die soon. But if you had like a weird, I mean, thank God it wasn't 666 dead. But at that point, it would just be like a literal slap in the face.
You got to wonder what they're using all of this energy to sacrifice for, because they're trapping people in energies of social media, a network, right? They're trapping people. Connected. They lured the Koreans into a giant bar area where they said that there was going to be some famous people, right? Because that's what matters. It matters of fucking how much influence that you have, how much you can draw people in. It's all Pied Piper, and they're treating us like rats.
And doing that right after COVID-19 restrictions for 2 years, people aren't going out and partying, so then have to know that everybody's going to want to go out at the same time. 100,000 people. That's what they had down there. All converging on that spot. On tiny little roads. They can drive their tiny little cars because nobody there has a big pickup truck. I don't know how they haul stuff.
And it was loud. It was a web of color and sound and symbolism. The horned beast, the grim reaper, the colors that they choose before the event starts happening. Notice that they're being pushed in a direction. They're all being guided in one direction. Now, here's the interesting thing to me is that we've covered a silent weapon that forces people to move. They're a frequency-based weapon.
Created by the United States government, correct?
Correct. And there was also a military base in which they were seeing off-duty soldiers interlaced inside of the crowd itself. Now, they're never going to confirm this because even though we have body cameras and video recorders, somehow it always seems to miss the people who glow at night. Somehow it always seems to miss the spies. But what I found surprising was the real snare, the real symbolism is that fucking demonic rectangle, that soul-sucking trap that we have of a cell phone and the social media that's applied to it. Because if you or I were in a dangerous situation as veterans, we would assess the situation and respond.
Get out of the way.
Run before you fight.
A lot of these folks, which we have video of, well, thank God for them. We have video of these, would you call them streamers? And instead of calling
we covered
for help,
Astro World and we saw that people were taking pictures, standing there like observers, gawking with their dick in one hand and their cell phone in the other, just trying to get the best likes, comments, and views to be amateur. News medias don't even have to pay for footage anymore. They used to have to pay for footage.
You can still sell them footage if it's the best, right? But as you're saying, they can just go
Or
grab
put your content behind a paywall.
Yeah, if I took a video and then slammed it up on social media, it's out there in the public. So news sites will go, oh, yeah, and then they'll quote you. Or they may not even quote you. They might even like drop your Twitter handle or your Instagram handle or whatever. They'll just say, oh, yeah, this is a video we've recovered. So it's like, it's interesting. But I have heard of like certain people going, no, that's my video. I want compensating for that. And but I've never heard of anyone actually being compensated after the fact. So,
I've heard of people getting like 10 grand or something silly like that for a video. I know TMZ pays for things like that, but
if you're
TMZ is...
this amateur pimp style of being a spy tends to pay the least. The better one is when you have Chinese immigrants who go and get positions in tech companies so that they can learn the schematics of how we fabricate things to then send it back to Mother China as part of their deal of escaping the tyrannical grip of China.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about the difference between, let's say, Astro World and this here in Itaewon, Korea.
Here's an example. Keep talking.
Is that there were at least 81, I know there's 100,000 people there, but there were at least 81 calls of people saying, hey, help us, we're being crushed to death. Oh, that's painful. Hey, we're being crushed to death.
We're really squeezing out the content today.
In Astro World, people are going to go ahead and just videotape. Well, they've been conditioned in a way not to help because you can get in a lot of trouble. Help. You can get sued if you do something incorrectly.
And see, therein lies where litigation has us. We're no longer a community. We're a bunch of strangers saluting each other at night while we march on by. We're treated like mushrooms. We grow in the dark and we're fed horse shit.
how many people got hurt, may I ask?
Oh, 156 individuals lost their motherfucking cracking brains.
Snapped like rice patties?
You mean died?
And the ribs.
Yes.
150 people died.
And then 150 something also got sustained injuries.
Yep. As of now, it's 172.
172. And what's wild to me is that it's a bit macabre, right? This is some dark energy, but the observation is the pattern in which, look at how they're ensnared. Look at this. Look at this bright color. Look how the social media, they're bringing up their cell phones, they're talking, they're having a good time. There's confetti. This is a place you want to be. But do you notice something in the corner right there? Does that not look like a motherfucking physical location? Like a pin drop that you would get on a map that you could click on your cell phone?
Oh, they could click that
and they could click that and they could be drawn into the event that they were currently seeing on their Instagrams, on their social media, on their phones, lured in by the Pied Piper of the algorithm.
These are young people that can actually use cell phones appropriately. I
young
have
people?
no idea
what
that
is. Your back cracking while you're talking to me,
My
old
knees
man?
definitely are. Pretty sure we can all say that when we get out of bed in the morning, kind of painful.
This was the start of it.
The start of it here?
This is the start of it. Notice as the club, you can't really hear anything, but notice they're being pushed from behind, and there's this network of people who are focused on getting down towards the bar at any cost. Who the fuck?
At this point, just run inside one of those many doors that are sitting there.
Yeah,
with
but
businesses.
They're impossible to break. They're made of wood. And we all know that wooden doors are impossible to break. Have you ever tried to?
I have not, but
I don't know, man. If you're pushed up against the wall, you know, you've not exactly got clearance to like smack in a door, regardless of whether it's glass or wood or whatever.
I'm gonna be real with you.
Either your body gives or whatever you're being pushed against gives.
I'm gonna be real with you. All right, your body gives before the wall does.
Boom. There you go. So
the only way that it happens is force multipliers. You ain't multiplying force if you're just grinding up against the wall.
No, you're gonna have to get some sort of energy cranked back in that elbow before you put it through the glass.
So have you ever been in a mosh pit before? We were talking about this before the episode. I'm just going to bring it up like that. But,
segue. I've been in a lot of mosh pits.
Right.
A bunch as a proud metalhead. You know, I've been to a lot of concerts.
It feels good, right?
Who's your favorite metal band? I want to know now.
My favorite metal band is the one I have tattooed on my body, and that would be 𝐂𝐿�𝐄𝐃.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I approve. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. I've only been called out twice for it. Oh, sweet tattoo. What does that stand for? Like, yeah, nobody knows what it is.
No, I like Deftones. I'm like a bit of a Deftones whore. So
Deftones. I'm thinking the Misfits is that weird skull character that they have. That's on all their album art. But yeah, I've been
That skull is way more marketable than any other fucking music is.
Right?
So props to him.
They have symbolism and they have shit products. Speaking of, who says, and this is why I was saying there's nothing more dangerous now than social media as a soul trap. It takes people who are passive, the NPCs that we make fun of,
Yeah.
because they're just not thinking, right? They're experiencing in the moment.
Yeah.
There is no forward thought. There's no recognition of danger at any time. It's not like everything outside is dangerous. That's not the lesson. The lesson is to see the horned beast and say, you know what? Maybe a creature that's all about sacrifice and suffering isn't exactly the thing I want to float next to while we're being crushed to death.
Yeah, these type of events are
like Asteroid with a
praised.
Hellmouth.
Or the walking through the Hellmouth to go watch, what was his name? Not James.
Travis Scott.
Travis Scott. But these type of events,
another crushing event.
I would never look at something like this. Like, hey, come on down to, city of Tallahassee and let's party in the streets. That's not advertising to me.
We're all suckers. You got to remember, the way that they're trained now is to embrace 10-second clips of information that's flashed in front of their face and then move on to the next one. If you don't believe me, watch any of the popular modern media. Meet the Kardashians. These Koreans are no different in their media. If you go and look at the Korean dramas, it's the same thing. Yeah. It's all faces and names.
Most Hollywood movies are cut like that. It's like 3-4 seconds cut, 3-4 seconds cut,
3-4 seconds cut.
Yeah.
It's I
to
find
keep your
it.
attention.
That's how they do it with low budget action films.
But that's
they cut like every second because the people can't. It doesn't look realistic unless you're just giving somebody a seizure.
Meet the Kardashians.
Eat the Kardashians?
If you watch the Kardashians.
No, I don't.
Please don't. You watch them in any period of time.
Yeah.
The media is designed to cut one frame out of every 10 so that it has a jerky, unnatural appearance of motion. Like,
oh, we talked about this, but I haven't had a chance to go. You know what? Now I'm going to be going home going, hey, baby.
I'm saying that nowadays, there were actually a famous sports player and a famous model who were there who also were used as advertisement to bring them to the bar. Now, mind you, nobody wants to accept responsibility for this and never will. And that's fine. It's a fucking story.
That's not necessarily true. Who are they going to throw under the bus?
Who are
they going to throw under the bus? And they did. They already did.
The architects of the symbols.
The police chief was thrown under the bus, and the person who comes out crying, because if he doesn't, he'll be killed or something, and says, I take sole responsibility.
Nobody's ever been killed for a political reason.
That's right. I take sole responsibility of Seoul and all these deaths. That's good. And he was practically saying that through tears. Meanwhile, behind the curtain, someone's got a gun to his wife's head.
Yeah.
So yeah, they tossed someone under the bus real fast.
Like what happened to Kevin Nash's son.
I don't know who Kevin Nash is.
Kevin Nash was a wrestler.
Kevin Nash is a wrestler.
Oh, you guys are
one
nerds.
of the famous wrestlers of the WCW. He used to be an original part of the New World Order.
This
he was WWE as well.
Right. So. He was multi-generational until he got fucked in the ass. He was...
The fact that you guys know exactly who he is or who he wrestles for.
Sodomy. It was something that happened to him. No, he was attacked. That's what happened.
Like in his house? Like...
I'm not breaking down this whole situation. I'm not looking at a Wikipedia page.
All I know is that
it really fucked with him.
I will tell you a really interesting story about Kevin Nash. He was in one of the Punisher movies. And so one of the parts is that he's supposed to get stabbed in. He's like a bad guy. He gets stabbed in the shoulder, and it was supposed to be like a fake knife. It wasn't a fake knife, and he took the hit. So when you see that movie,
yeah,
and you see the knife go into him, that's actually the knife that goes into him.
So
and
he's a phenomenal actor. He's top tier.
It was one of his like earlier roles, and he was like, I didn't want to bitch and fuck it up. Also, I'm a big man and I can take that hit. I'm like, props, dude. So Kevin Nash, Punisher.
All right, now that we've completely distracted ourselves from the horror, let's get right back into the horror. Here's another person who decided to stream. Look at this.
He could just be meditating with his eyes open.
This is fucked up.
Look how big his eyes get.
It's horror. It's... Yeah. All right. That's enough of that for me. I don't like listening to people scream. It's probably why I'm not one of the dark ones.
I think that was pretty dark. That puts you in the category of being one of the dark ones.
I mean...
That is bad.
We all are a little fucked up in the head when we get out of the military, right?
That's true. Out of the three of us, who do you think is the most, like, fucked up in terms of watching stuff? That's
you.
Okay.
For sure.
I'll take
When
that.
you say you take the hit for being fucked up, or someone who's watched the most fucked up?
See, I'll go into occult symbolism, like the 8 goddesses that controlled Korea and sacrificed a whole bunch of people on the Southern Ferry, and my assumption now is that they're growing in power once again in the background, pushing people using social media, experimenting with how they can draw you in one direction before reaping you over and over, all while telling you the dangers in front of your face. Look at the symbols. They're right in front of you. When you fall into the trap, don't fucking blame me. I said something.
They did the test run at Astro World.
They did.
This was, I think, another test with a larger crowd after...
And instead of using an event specifically where they were already hired people...
They used a tweet.
They used a tweet and a Halloween pin drop to Instagram to draw people to get attention. Remember, it's all energy. If they can distract and sacrifice a whole bunch of people and then just be like, we're sorry, I'll lose my job now. So sorry. But the position still remains, then that's only a fall, man. Nothing's actually changed.
How long do you think you have to wait before you implement another one of these here in the United States?
It's going to happen, especially after November 8th. We're already loaded up for either a civil war or some sort of world war to distract us.
Waiting on that civil war. I mean, not waiting with like anticipation, but just waiting for
the way
stuff
that we
to break out.
Treated our neighbors has gone from, hey, go fuck yourself, to, hey, I need to know everything you're doing in your life so I can properly judge you as a human being.
Yeah.
Oh, that would also depend, I think, on where you're located in the cities, and then they're bragging about this in news articles.
Who
about,
the fuck would want to live in a walkable city? That's my example of a walkable city.
Tons of people do. They do it all the time.
No, the crowds to me are willing suffocation. You're asking people to get real close and just constantly move around you. And maybe, just maybe,
there's stuffing
there's a
people
level
in
of
these
trust,
cities.
right? There's a level of trust that civilization operates off of. We all agree a social trust that we're not going to fuck around and find out. We don't want to know how much of a deranged motherfucker you are behind your tall, twinkish, skinny appearance with a beard, the fact that you have pale blue eyes that look like they could look down at you while carving you apart in honor of your favorite serial killer with your own special twist. See, some of us don't want to fuck around and find out. We acknowledge that you have this horrible monster deep inside of you, this desire to transcend your flesh, to make an impression that lasts in the collective unconsciousness of mankind itself.
You're getting real personal here.
And yet, I'd still rather hang with you than go into the middle of a fucking city.
What would it have I appreciate that. Thank you. And what would it have taken for you to go to some type of party like that? Not typically the party type guy. Or would you have seen the writing on the wall?
The parties that I've always enjoyed are more of
Dungeons and Dragons, card games, stuff.
Shut the fuck up. Dungeons and Dragons is the greatest thing ever, and you need to fucking stay in your lane, Mayor.
Did I strike a nerve there? Matt's getting all pissed off, right?
What would you rather talk about? The brain injuries of, or would you rather talk about Tom Brady after divorcing his wife is unable to win a fucking game? I mean, it's all distractions. It's what you enjoy.
The ass is that good.
It was the power of her hate and pussy.
This is why he was winning games?
That was how he was winning games. It was motivation. He lost his motivation.
I feel like
just like they lost their motivation to live because they took out their phone. You know, here's the thing. Why I mentioned moshing earlier is that there are little techniques you can do. For example, if you're in a situation where you're pinned in, step on the back of somebody's knees and boost yourself up.
Oh, that was your information on how to crowd surf.
All you have to do is get your arms above shoulder length. Thank fucking A that we're tall. You know what I'm saying? We're not really going to have the problem of this. I didn't see no 6 foot anybody there. And the one person that I did see that was tall was that guy who was climbing out of the crowd.
He was climbing up the scaffolding there, right? Up some stairs and whatnot.
Yeah. Here we go. I got that.
The arsenal of stuff you have discovered on this.
It fascinates me. Listen, all right? This is the most fucked up thing, but it's really breaking it down. Gods and prophets, the sin and symbolism, the idea is to point out the pattern so you don't walk into the traps. I do this willingly because at the end of the day, I don't want to lose anybody else. Do you get me?
I get you.
Like, going through the military and watching people go into IEDs or the shit that happens over there, it kind of makes you want to go, hey, maybe you should avoid the giant pitfall that's right over there that I can see because it's a giant neon sign that has Satan's fucking horns on it, and also 666 on 3s in that location. But they don't look into the symbolism because remember, when you're normally operating out of a fear state where you're surviving by constantly going for bills, to pay in your energy towards sustaining your own existence, your awareness level is suppressed. You enter into this mindless state, this non-player character. You don't believe that you have agency, that every moment counts in your life, that every moment that we're even looking at each other is a moment we're never going to get again. It's cherished and precious.
No matter how much you break it down for somebody,
you can't.
Most people are just going to be like, but it's Rihanna, see ya, and walk off with the crowd.
Just like Astroworld having a Hellmouth right over, and the symbolism of Hellmouth is absorbing souls into the next realm.
After watching all of this, that Hellmouth in Astroworld definitely seems a bit more.
It's gradual.
Crazy to me, stuff like that.
It's not. I like to think, Mark, of you as an example of someone who was completely blind to what was talked about, and that organically, as we were conversing, was able to research in your own way to put it into a language that you understand. That's what communication's all about. That's what spells are. The precise use of words and language allow you to convey messages, but it does nothing if it has no energy behind it, which is where all these public speakers are cocksuckers. That's why I know.
Wait, how? Because they have the energy behind it?
Because they don't have the energy. They get into a drum beat.
What is the drum beat kind of like put you in a trance?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a hypnotist technique.
So they're just hypnotizing these people to buy their books.
It doesn't matter what's said, it's how it's said.
Yeah. Who's that guy that's real famous for? Oh man,
who's that guy that's really famous that bought Twitter?
He's a motivational
Who's that guy who's
speaker.
really famous that bought Parler?
Oh, that would be. Wait, that was Kanye West that bought Yee. I apologize, my boy Yee.
Has the sale actually gone through for Parler?
Probably not. That's a stupid investment. But Elon, I'm going to just shift for 1 second.
When you have to secure your First Amendment right by being a billionaire to buy your own social media network.
Also, it's not like Kanye West is actually, you know, he tends to dive in and say shit first and do things first.
The best noise. Just like pastors, they have a drum beat. Exactly.
That's true.
And
that's true. As a church-going fellow myself, I do see that.
Listen to the most popular Spanish music. It all has the same drum beat.
That's why I don't like it. It's all that do 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 do, and it sounds the same. You could have 18 different songs,
and it's a subroot of an African drum beat.
So that's where it started.
Yeah. When you go into the history of frequency and the beats, you can see that magic has always been being able to control people by using whatever language or whatever tone works.
When I hear magic, and you know this, when I hear magic, I think of
Gathering,
spooky, and like Harry Potter, you know. But when you're saying magic is just repeating words in a certain cadence hypnotize people.
Do you know the reason that king bloodlines are so cherished even to this day? The reason that nobility is so prized?
Yes, because they were all allowed to fuck their sister.
The reason is the resonant frequency of the being is able to rule over others. It's
That's
a
ingrained
blessing.
in us?
It's like, treat us like an instrument. Some of us are strings, some of us are wood instruments, some of us are
Blow me.
the worst
That was a
human
guitar.
being.
You could pluck me. Go ahead. I apologize.
But some very rare and few are conductors. The whole idea of social media and influencers and branding is the idea of finding these strong, passionate, resonant beings and harvesting them of their power and draining them so they don't use it to, for example, affect actual change in their environment.
Right. So the famous people, though, let's say Anna as an example, he's not even a conductor. The conductors are the people behind the scenes that
who are
essentially
plucking
own
them and using their energy. It's what happens in what was it recently? It was 𝐂𝐿𝐴 over a dice game, and that it was a famous rapper just died over a $7,000 dice game because two guys had a beef and they shot at each other and he was a victim between it. But when you go deeper into it, you see that one of the brothers left, or cousins left, before because he suspected that a ritual sacrifice was about to be conducted.
Yeah.
A lot of these musicians will make a deal with the devil and then talk about it openly in an interview.
Well, apparently there's a video now that's shown it, kind of shown bits of it in question. I haven't seen it myself, but I was talking to someone in it at work today. So there's the main one, there was 𝐂𝐐𝐍𝐄𝐃. He's like, not the lead, but he's like the face of the group. And he was the one that was having the dice game, and he won this 7K or whatever it was. And then what happened was, there's the other guy, the guy that got shot, he was at the side, minding his own business. But the main guy got supposedly punched, and then the money was snatched, and the guy was running out. 𝐂𝐿𝐴 only saw like the punch or the money they got, and then he chased after him. When he chased after him, that's when the shot happened. And so the guy he just saw his cousin getting like fucking jacked. So he like chased after him, didn't know nothing. And that's how that happened. And it's fucking crazy.
What's wild to me is that there was still the suspicion that something was going to happen in order for one of them to bounce away from the group to begin with. The harvesting of energy, when we're talking about musicians, when we're talking about these deals, when we're talking about these faces, is because they enter into these contracts. These contracts have a price, a cost. Usually it's to sacrifice something that you love, something that's precious to you, to show that you've killed attachment to this reality for pursuit of straight power.
People still worship these. Best Noise just made another really good comment that I liked, was grab energy. People or sheeple exhaust themselves probably in this
and they
worship
do it
that they have.
But here's how they exhaust themselves. They do it by focusing on each other, like crabs in a bucket. They exhaust their energy by the lowest common enemy. Instead of being focused on what they're interested in or what they want to see changed, they'll get roped into an argument over Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Who shit the bed? But yes, but yeah, your point is very well made. Yeah, an argument over silly stuff that doesn't matter. A lot of times nowadays, it's politics.
Politics has become the new entertainment. It's what news articles sell.
It has its own multiple channels on television where you can watch the clown show yourself.
Putting out a fear state, a constant suppressive fear state.
Right, be afraid.
Then in addition to that, you have the 5G towers, which put out a frequency, which it's allowed within the frequency to be a weapon itself. And that's up to 300 gigahertz.
That's proven.
Then that's proven.
That's proven
with silent weapons.
I
the
feel
videos,
like,
we have the backlog.
That's right. I feel like Jones right now. We have the evidence.
We have it.
We've
done it.
We're
talking about it again
on multiple shows and shown people the actual
the
government
silent
document.
warfare is what they've done is they've supplanted the type of magic they use now is this digital control network. They've tricked people into thinking that having a device that records everything they do, where they are, what they say, what they like to buy, this is a good thing. This is something that they want in their life. And now the people in control are proving that they can draw. See, think of this as like a business. As a business, don't you want to be able to prove that you can draw 1,000 people to one bar located at 20 on 22, 10, 29 at 666, 666? You want to be able to show them at that street that you can draw people to sell the product to a corporation that wants to do a reveal over the next thing that everybody's supposed to spend their money on, right? Yeah. So this is a fucking trial run to a new business that's going to pop up within 2 years, advertise as something else, as the system learns how to trick people into being fucking gullible.
And tricked them, it did. Tune of 100,000 people crammed into these small streets. It's wild.
Isn't it fucking great? Isn't it beautiful?
How the fuck did that many people get that indication so quickly?
It was a geolocation drop. What they did instead of, because I feel like you think of the internet. Yeah, like something like that. But imagine it being pushed out to everybody's phone. It just finds your social media. You're thinking of applications as individuals. I'm saying the system itself sent a message. The system can reach out to you from whatever voice that it chooses to arrive from. We have proof of that by the Department of Homeland Security convincing social media that they can allow access and they want control over who says what. So when you think of the thing, don't think of applications. The system is saying.
The system being, it could have been a tweet, it could have been an Instagram post, it could have just been something that they saw on TV that put this in their mind, something that their neighbor said that drew them down to this location.
Can you prove at 6 o'clock what everyone was watching? What if at 6 o'clock on those random advertisements that we get on Hulu, on YouTube, at that specific 6 o'clock, there was an advertisement saying there was a party there?
I mean, I say things all the time near my phone, and then I get advertisement for it on YouTube, little press releases on Facebook. All these different social media apps will hear something that I say. I want a dog crate. Here, note this time right now. I need a large dog crate. I guarantee
2:56 p.m.
within 3 hours, I'll have something on some sort of social media or some sort of advertisement of this dog crate that I want. Hey, man, it'd really be nice to go out to a party for Halloween. We've been locked in the house. Been locked in the house for so long.
And then it suggests you either with a coupon or some sort of loyalty. But that's where we have to realize that it is the magic of modern day to use words and symbolisms to ensnare minds and to train you. I've got another wild example for you. Do you remember the commercials on TV back when you were a kid where they would have 1-800-ZOO animals and they would have various pictures of zoo animals that would pop up and show you can get a book about tigers, about snakes.
I didn't watch TV.
You didn't watch TV growing up?
No,
that blows my fucking mind.
I was that one rare person.
Did you have like a stick and some string or some shit like that?
No.
He didn't get indoctrinated. No wonder he doesn't understand symbolism.
I didn't grow up without a television. I had there's a reason behind it. I mean,
and now I want to know.
I had an alcoholic father who all he did was watch TV. So when he up and split when I was 3, my mom tossed it out and never bought another one.
Thank you, the best noise. Somebody remembers. Okay, best noise. This one's just for you and for those listening. If you look at the serpent that they used for the zoo animals, and you will see that it has historical significance. Take a closer look at the symbolism of the zoo animal snake. There was a creation deity that they were mimicking the symbols of. I wish I could just pull it right out of my ass, this precise name. I don't want to give you the wrong name and send you down the wrong path, but I'm pointing you in the direction. But it was a colorful zoo, which was a precursor before the pride flag. It was subtle ways of showing you as a child something that you would recognize later on in your life.
Oh, so it wouldn't be so jarring when they just took it over it'd be a gradual kind of slip into.
It's part of indoctrination. Remember, they've been laying. Television is its own cult. TV has supplanted God. It comes in and it hits you with the frequency.
You could also say that the symbolism would also go to, like, let's say, Fruit Loops commercials and cereals, bright colored cereals with all these different colors that they would go and blast all over in the 1990s.
We live in a generation of children who will never know the sound of static.
Oh shit! Yeah,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Yeah, okay.
I don't know whether you guys used to have this, but children will never know the joys of randomly finding porn magazines in bushes. That's a fucking thing that we used to have here in the UK.
Porn minefields.
Yeah, like you'd just be walking along and then, like, you know, you'd like glance down at the bush and lo and behold, there would
bonus
be a
if you had the scratch and sniff pages.
Okay, I got. Here's a question for y'all. Let's do a little tally.
Go on.
I'll go last. Karoshi, the first pornographic magazine or the first porn you ever saw, when and where? How did it happen?
Oh, sorry, mouthful of food, still in my dinner. My apologies. My brother used to buy this. You can't tell, but I'm doing bunny quotes. Photography magazine, and towards the back, it was just full of naked women. And that's
beautiful.
where, like, I saw that. And then there was a point where he was like, "Hey," we were like quite in tune with like internet and BBSs and shit like that in like the 90s. And my brother like, "Oh yeah, we can like tune into the BBS of this computer shop," and that was full of porn. So we used to like spend like half a day downloading a single porn image. You remember? Like, do you remember back in the day with like go a bit further after that, like AOL, and you'd like download a single porn picture, and it would slowly populate from top to bottom.
You will never know the suffering of 56 kilobytes of porn.
I finished before the image loaded. Talon, what do you got?
You blew your load?
Oh yeah, it was done. It was like the first titty that
didn't
popped
even
up
need a download. For me, it was a dingy warehouse around 9 p.m. at nighttime. My dad was recording an album in this warehouse, and on the wall, because it was like a multi-pole, it had tools, and people used the warehouse, there was a magazine, a Playboy magazine. I saw the Playboy bunny, and I was just looking at the titties and ass, and I was like, yeah, I'm down.
Did you tell your dad you liked it? And he was probably real happy.
Yeah, that's how I got my first earring. It was a Playboy
God,
bunny.
he's not gay.
That's what he's Oh man,
I was concerned for a minute, but Jesus,
he dodged a bullet. He probably wrote a song about it. Mine was,
my son doesn't go that way. My son, he is not gay.
Party. I had this neighbor whose dad was real big into Bike Week, and he found a key to his lockbox and opened the lockbox, and it was all Polaroids of his dad banging out all of these chicks. And he took them and shared them with us. We kept them in a Ziploc bag and buried them out by this tree in this empty lot. And we would take turns going back there and looking at them. I might have been 10.
Speaking of burying your dog, do you think any of the people who are being crushed, the Koreans who are being snap-legged rice crackers, were going to grope any of those titties before they expired? Because you know necrophiliacs exist. Somebody wants to crack open a cold one.
If you look at statistically speaking, someone was getting felt up, and there was probably also a murderer or two squished in. Getting
now, see, this is a murder movie I could get behind.
Okay, I'm intrigued. I remember as a younger person hearing an old wives' tale about a woman being like, "Oh, I've got this rash in my hoo-ha," you know, and then it's like the doctor looked and went, "Okay, we need to go and send this away." And then they came back and they were like, "Yeah, this is weird." And then, like, after doing the research, it turned out her boyfriend was a necrophiliac, and then like coming and having sex with her, and that's why she had said rash. That sounds like a fucking wives' tale to me. But I would love to know whether that is actually any truth to that sort of thing. Is there some sort of like
decomposing
bacteria?
flesh does get? Well, you got to remember, what is gangrene?
Decomposing flesh.
Yeah, it eats.
Yeah.
it eats the flesh and prevents the other flesh from becoming healthy, right?
So if you have intercourse with a corpse and then go hit it up with a live person, you can give them diseases and a rashy vagina. That's disgusting. I don't even. Ugh. Ah.
I don't know whether there's any truth to that, but
Oh, I'm sure it's happened.
It's like a fucking wives' tale.
Sure, it's happened. Maybe that's where they got the Kill Bill storyline from, when she's getting just roasted in her hospital bed.
So I would argue that, to give you an example, you want to talk about a wives' tale. I'm going to talk about something called there was a male goose, something called Voluptuous Panic. It's a story that was written by a homosexual man about Weimar Germany and the excess of flesh, the degeneracy, where we truly can degrade to, right?
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Worse than.
Jeez.
And here's one of the examples. What they would do is they'd take a male goose whose neck you'd cut at just the right ecstatic moment, which would give you the most delicious frisson of all. That allows you to enjoy sodomy, bestiality, homosexuality, necrophilia, and sadism.
All at the same time?
At the same time.
Panic, the erotic world of Weimar Berlin. A story went around that a male goose, of one of which is the neck is, how'd you pronounce that? ECS, ecstatic moment, would give the most delicious. Yeah, you're literally reading the same thing I'm reading.
I am.
Okay.
It's a quote. I'm not fucking making up those words.
How? No. I don't think you could. Nobody could make that. You have to see something like that to be able to write it down.
I can't remember.
There's a book available on.
There was a cult called the 8 Goddesses cult that was responsible for the ferry sinking. In fact, I have a video of it, since we're talking about Korea and the crush, of the South Korea ferry disaster, which was a cult that got it done.
This is the ferry disaster that happened in 2010.
So the problem here that I can see for this is that they're very used to authority and deferring to it. Since they're always in a constant state of observation and taking in information, they don't actually act on information. When the captain said that we're sinking, right? They said, be careful, be stein, stay in your room. And you know what they did? They fucked right off. The captain and the crew left.
It didn't go down with the ship.
And it would come to find out that it was an ordered sacrifice for a cult leader in the 8 Goddesses cult, whose symbol is an owl.
Okay, put them on this ship, get off, sink it.
Yes.
Boom.
And they need that energy. You know, think about it. They could be doing something as simple as taking a life insurance policy. Or maybe they want to hit a rival ferry company. Maybe they wanted to change ferry companies. You know what I'm saying? Like, the amount of information that... The amount of how fucked up things can get once you realize that the only limitation in this system is how dark or how light someone is willing to go. The reason the forces of light triumph at the end isn't because they're more effective at setting up a brutal trap or weaponry. It's that at the end of the day, there's a level of trust that can only be established by mutual distrust and righteous anger.
Blows my mind how calm, collected those people were. If that was here in America,
but look how
chaos.
Look how calm and collected the Koreans were when they were being crushed and their bodies pushed together in a mosh pit. We've seen mosh pit examples. We've seen the man climb out of the hole. He knew what was going on. He made a different choice. But what ended up happening is what had happened. You said 82 people called. They called for help. They deferred to authority. They gave up their agency.
Still, I mean, nobody came. People did come. They just couldn't get in there. It just kind of makes me laugh about how different cultures respond.
We're all different tribes. We're all trained differently.
Right.
The televisions teach us differently.
And here we've been trained to be
passive,
be free for the longest time, to be free Americans and fight for your country, for freedom. But now it's like they're kind of reeling us back in. making us more docile, putting more fluoride in the water.
And at the same time, the military is having a huge crisis in not being able to fill their retention for getting enough soldiers in there. Who wants to fight for a nation?
Kids are weak.
Where you'd rather do a Fortnite dance and dab. That's what's happened is we've treated everyone like sheep, and we're surprised when they don't even recognize the branding. And it's all frequency based, which is why when you say that you're confused, I gotta say, man, it is just frequency based. Music, how it makes us feel. Like, what was his name? Lao Tzu once said that a nation's purity can be determined by its music.
Who is Lao Tzu?
It's a Chinese philosopher who... China went very deep in the psychological impact and physiological impact of how different sound waves and frequencies can impact your body. It's like jade. Do you know jade has passive healing properties?
The stone jade?
Yeah, the stone jade. It helps alleviates aches. Just like copper bracelets or that system that you have. What is it called?
The beamer?
The beamer system, which
now,
also...
Does this have to do with the fact that we're made up out of water? And
it does.
Uses the frequencies to essentially change the water?
And what makes humans so fascinating is we have enuncia. We have this primal language of being able to manipulate our esophagus to convey complex ideas by using words and then injecting it with tone. And tone, in addition to words, allows you to convey a message to catch and sink in.
Sink into someone's head to eventually like lock onto them.
And then remember, it's order givers are just one person, but order followers are thousands. That's how you got Nazis. That's how you get a unified military force. That's how you get unified national thinking. That's how you get many people working in one direction. It's how everything works, is that it becomes a culture, and we're trained by the culture how to respond when given proper stimuli. For American schools, they train us in the beginning so that we bow our heads for 8 hours, listen to someone monotonously speak while being sit and told to sit still, while we naturally want to move our bodies, and we're designed to move our bodies.
So the people that are in charge, people that are in positions of power, have essentially learned this technique of grabbing people with their frequency. Is that what you're getting at?
If we're animals, if we're primal beings, all the way to our base, a primal entity, then you have to understand that each one of us has teeth and claws and brains and cunning, and we're all designed to succeed. Some of us, if you work into a pack, if you get into a gang, if you're flipping some weight, what you end up realizing is that hierarchies exist.
Wolves use their teeth, whereas humans, as we're more evolved,
use tools. But what still keeps the fear? How does a gang leader, how does a crime boss, how does a bad bitch stay in charge? They do it by words, by body language, by authority.
That comes naturally to them.
But you can also learn it, especially if you're an actor and you know that the world is a stage.
Brought this full circle.
I did. Right from the part that nobody will ever hear because it got completely destroyed. Even though I do it, it's still there. Yeah.
I think that I hope that if for those who have made it this far, they understand that we did like 15 minutes of a show just to have it get totally
technical
ruined.
difficulties.
Yeah, so we started back up and just literally
hammered this in.
The action started right away.
It's beautiful. It's kind of like how everybody got squished around 8 p.m. on Halloween.
Not even getting pulled out till well after midnight.
I missed the first part. What's so important about 8 p.m.?
Important of what?
8
p.m. No, there was nothing about 8 p.m. specifically. It was about the date itself was 22. You know, our year of 2022. the month was October, so it's 10, and the physical date was the 29th. If you break it all down using gematria, it makes an 18 when you add all the numbers up and you divide it by 3.
Right.
So gematria is the idea. It's 666.
Ah, right, okay.
And if you go to the physical address of the location of where the event occurred, where everybody was fucking squished, became a Korean pancake, you would find out that it was 666 on the address, both ways that they registered the address, under a devil bar, under a sign of a grim reaper, under a horned bull's head, under M for Moloch, shining in a web of colors and sound, ensnared by social media. It's
out of curiosity, what was the pin drop advertising?
We don't know. We weren't there. And nobody's come forward to admit anything. The police chief admitted fault and then bowed out. And that's been the maximum level of punishment. But the fear, and the reason that I'm bringing it up, is there's proof in Korea that the eight goddesses cult exists and had power. And that it was a long streaming network. And that they could get people sacrificed on a ferry. To go further than that, if there's this large event that's happening with social media, the symbolism is pointing to a resurgency of power. The system has a new agent.
That 8 ladies cult didn't go away.
No, they weren't all arrested.
They didn't just, we lost power because our female leader isn't president anymore. They're still there.
They still have the power.
Pulling strings.
And the worst part is that it becomes part of a culture. It becomes a culture to respect these symbols and these symbols as a fear element. And the fear element is how you respond to them. It's okay to be respectful to what you know as a two-headed dragon, but you should not bow your head and break eye contact either.
Most people would.
Most people do.
That's really...
And they're trained to. We're treated like sheep.
Schools.
We're treated. Public schools is to teach you how to be a good
tax-paying drone.
Not even a tax-paying drone anymore, because now they've removed all financial lessons out of high school. So they don't teach you about debt. They don't teach you about the concept of loan and loan creation.
They want you to have that debt.
They want you to be in the fear mind state, so you're a low vibrational being. They want to keep you suppressed, so you're always focused on the world around you and surviving. If you're surviving, you're not thriving because you don't have a thriving mindset.
Thrive is to...
I'll boil it down. When you're low vibrational, you're a low rat motherfucker. You want to shank everybody to make sure that you get yours.
Okay.
That's great. Works fine. You will eventually climb to the top of the rat pile, but you're still in a pile of fucking rats.
But you want to be the rat god that can transcend that pile.
You're a Skaven. You're going to climb higher on a tower of scabies.
Nerd. Love it.
But it's true. And that's the brutal part of it. The truth is that when you operate in low vibrational, it's because the news is selling you fear, the government is telling you what you can't do, and the world seems a little more expensive and a little harder and a little colder. And what you can do instead is enjoy your hobbies, build good friendships, notice the sin and symbolism, notice these patterns so that you can avoid it. Hey, your concert may not be the one that's scheduled for ritual sacrifice, but maybe the day before fucking Halloween, when it's All Hallows Eve and all souls can transition between every entity, walking into a hellmouth might be a bad idea. November 5th, but close enough.
November 5th was
Astroworld.
I was thinking of this one, not necessarily walking through the mouth of hell, but you are walking by it.
Yeah, the hell bar.
Yeah.
With all
Interestingly enough, Nike has finally picked him back up again, because Nike Jordan dropped him, but didn't drop him. They just went and went silent on him, and they've slowly rolled him back in. So he's got shoes coming out and all kinds of shit. So
good.
He's gonna. I mean, he had, that was a big album for him. Travis Scott.
Travis Scott. I thought you were talking about Kanye for a second. I was really confused.
No. Travis Scott, Mr. Hellmouth himself.
Hey,
and
you dead at your concert, get that Nikes.
I think he'll have something coming out in the next 2 years.
That was the point.
Right.
That was the point of the sacrifice.
He sacrificed the only thing that he loved, which is his fans.
To get those Nikes.
Because remember, if you ever notice him before, he has a history of acting like a whip leader. He likes to get people to focus on one person in the crowd and bully them.
Yeah, he's done that. He's an asshole. From what I've heard, he's an arrogant asshole.
Now he's about to be a rich, arrogant asshole.
But he's made the sacrifice.
He's been a rich, arrogant asshole for a while, but he is an arrogant asshole, yeah.
And that's the kind of energy and vibration they want you to focus on. They want you to focus on the fact to succeed, you have to be arrogant, you have to sling drugs, you have to abuse women. You know what I'm saying? Like the lyrics, what they're selling.
Interestingly enough, a load of rappers have come out and signed something basically saying, oh yeah, we want a law being brought into place to state that you cannot use song lyrics to incriminate. Let me find that, because it's a load of big names have like signed it, and it's like I kind of get it, but because at the end of the day, a lot of these artists they do.
Yo, I murdered my mother in the back alley of 1993.
Yeah.
They want to make sure you can't use the lyrics that they write to like incriminate them.
Yeah, exactly.
For court cases.
Let me find. Yeah,
I mean. Yeah, that's kind of messed up. I mean, what if you could do something and that OJ would be perfect with that? Didn't he write a book about it? OJ did that very thing. He wrote a book.
If I did it.
If I did it, and then he like laid out the crime.
Yeah,
I would have stabbed her at more of a 90-degree angle, and
yeah.
The size of that guy's balls. I'm shocked that Bronco hit the speeds that it did, without all four of those tires just exploding under the massive weight.
Okay, but here's a good example.
Yeah.
Do you know that Daryl Brooks, the guy who did his own lawyering for the 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐃 case?
That's right.
Well, think about those balls. He waved away a public defender to defend himself.
There we go.
Which was funny about that is he wasn't really well versed on the law. Kind of screwed himself. Thank God.
Okay, this is the New York Post. Jay-Z and others call for rap lyrics to no longer be used as criminal evidence. And I'm trying to get a list of people. 𝐂𝐓𝐄𝐃 6ix9ine, he can fuck off. There's like rap lyrics, and then there's like actually incriminating yourself. But it's a weird one.
You know, the thing about it is, I don't give a fuck. Like, what they gotta understand is beef happens, especially when people are like fucking crabs in a bucket. They don't want high vibrational beings near them. They want to vamp off of you. That's where the goblins come in, the people who suck in energy. You ever been feeling in a good mood and then somebody who has a really shitty attitude comes and tries to fuck with you just because?
Yes.
That's because they know, based on your body language, that you're feeling good. So they're coming to puncture that because they want you to feel like they do. And it's your politeness, the mask of society, that allows them to act as dickish as they want.
How does that look like if it's reversed? I will, a lot of times, kill people with kindness and be overly nice when I see that someone's having a bad day. Say about me. I want them to feel as good as I am.
That you like to remind them that there's a higher vibration out there.
Right, but I got to work on getting my frequency and my vibration higher. Where I really start affecting change.
You can't put an air mask on someone else. You've got to put an air mask on yourself first.
Oh, I can put an air mask on somebody. They're not going to like it, and they're going to fight me. But, I mean, you couldn't do it.
Sleep.
If you couldn't do it, then we wouldn't have all these charges and these guys in prison.
I'm just saying, when you're in this mental state, right? You watch the news, you see this event, you've been suppressed. It's a nice Halloween event. You're a Korean guy. You see that there's a famous actor that's rumored to be around. There's a famous model or that's being around, you see that there's a famous baseball player. Don't you want to meet them? Doesn't it give you like just the moment of feeling like you've connected with one of the more valuable members of the tribe?
Looked at me. He looked at me. Signed my chest.
And the tribe, that feeling is what they manipulate. That's where they get us. That's where the vibration and the energy really directs, is that they want us hooked in this low state, so we're always looking for the stars.
So in your opinion, what can you not be sucked into these ritual sacrifices?
Insult.
So, everybody?
The idea that I feel like the idea that you have to compare yourself to another being, they're not being in your experience, right? What's success to you? Is it paying your bills, or is it enjoying the time that you have?
Success for me personally would be making sure your bills are paid, comfortable, but also your family, your relationships that you have with your family, top model of.
But the minimum that you provide your family is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They have food, they have shelter, they have water.
Yeah, well, those are the bills that I'm talking about.
But what I'm saying is, on top of that, everything else is just how civilization has taught you. Back in the day when we were hunter-gatherers, we clubbed our women. We went clubbing. We dragged them in. We made families. They would gather things for the nest, and we would go out hunting, right?
Seems so barbaric now, but it literally thousands of.
Well, then you imagine that we've been suppressed. We have less testosterone than our ancestors.
Men have been suppressed.
Yeah, men have been suppressed to be less hunters and to be more passive observers. It's in direct violation to our natural ways, our natural environment, our natural state of being. So when you say you want to be a parent, are you judging yourself based on what you aren't able to provide above those things? Because really, if you're paying your taxes, if you're doing your absolute goddamn best, there's no shame, there's no low frequency on that.
Yeah, there's no physical things that I feel like my kids need to have a good mother, good relationship with me. So when I'm old and my knees are worn out and I'm just like riddled with arthritis, I have someone that's going to wipe my ass.
So are you going to kick your kids out when they're 18?
Hell no. Hell no. We lived in multi-generational houses for thousands of years. That's just how families work.
That's how clans work.
Yes,
they were called clans.
Okay, so our clans. So I'm I'm in a clan now. We have 3 generations of people living under the same roof. Granted, that roof is very long and very, wide. It's a big enough roof.
It's still something that's better because you, as a tribe, you're able to stand. As a clan, you're able to stand up.
Yes.
But now think about how, each one of these Korean kids were probably kicked out of their homes, not living in generational. They're mimicking American lifestyle. And American lifestyle is to live as gypsy as possible. To travel to work, to travel to a cave, everything's expensive, and gas is just too much now. Too much.
That's really interesting that you said that the traveling everywhere. The way you just said it now, it seems super. That I would love to travel, but that's literally what they're 18. Get out, go spend a ton of money on an apartment, so you can never own a house.
While you're not established, putting you in debt.
That's right. That's right.
And then the debt becomes a system that ensnares you to put you in a fear state, to knock you into low vibrational energy so that they can send you an advertisement using these new LED lights that drown out natural nighttime rhythms with a light noise pattern. It kills your fucking peripheral vision.
Are they using these lights on the highway now?
Yeah.
I just drove home from the airport the other day, and the wife was like, "These lights are really creepy. What's going on?" I'm gonna have to go talk to Talon. There's a reason that they're putting these there.
It's in order to prevent people from seeing into the shadows. It makes the shadows deeper.
That's what it was. It was really creepy. Dark blue light that it didn't help anything. I couldn't see any farther.
No.
I think it's way more dangerous.
Yes.
It's going to put me to sleep, right?
And it's also going to, yes. Well, no, blue light will keep you awake.
You awake?
It's the red filter. When you red filter and remove the blue light, that you're allowed to relax. That's what I'm saying, is they're constantly shoving in this blue light everywhere as a frequency.
Just what's on my cell phone?
Yeah.
Blue light that comes out?
Yeah. And my computer screens.
That's addictive.
Yeah.
That's an
And it's also the reason that when you layer on color psychology as a network on top of the numerology, on top of symbology, just becomes kind of, you know, I used to do programming, and it's just pieces to the puzzle, but the system is what you experience. We're still in the same environment. We're still playing the same game, right? We're all player characters, but you and I, we have different experiences from childhood, as far back as we can remember, to now. And from now to what happens next. How we influence each other is how we grow. But it's the same thing for the world itself. What we're seeing now is there's a disconnect from people who are on the top, right? The ones who have the most amount of power. They spend most of that power perpetuating keeping power instead of perpetuating, improving base humanity, so base humanity becomes a stronger clan and tribe. Since we've split away from familial focus, people are split onto self-actualizing and defining themselves and to be unique in a world, in a human experience, instead of embracing the generations to be the child, to the man, to the old man, to die. They're breaking the natural chains of cycle and attaching it to the government, to worship the government instead, to worship the voice of authority.
That's totally worked. Absolutely.
They've made politics a religion.
It's statism. Statism is the most dangerous. And what's crazy and what makes me laugh is when you say things along the sky daddy that died for your sins, and then goes to a Bernie rally and it's like, oh, he's going to pay for everything. And they worship these politicians.
Because the politicians make promises and they have a trustworthy face, but even more so, they have a frequency that can draw people in through social media to an event where they get squished in a game. Hey, I'm telling truth.
Mark Santana.
Matt Karoshi.
And this has been Gods and Prophets Podcast 58, a macabre event, a Halloween death. If you learn anything, learn the symbolism. If it has horns, question, is it just interesting? Does it fascinate you? Or is it the programming telling you that what's bad is good, and what's good is bad?